What's up? Joey here at School of Motion, bringing you day 15 of the 30 days of After Effects. Today I'm going to talk about precomps. Now, if you've used After Effects for more than a week, you probably know about precomposing, but in this lesson, I want to reinforce the power of precomps. And a good way of doing that, I found, is to show just how quickly you can build very, very complex animations that really don't take that much work and don't have very many keyframes, but actually look really cool and complicated. I'm hoping that along the way you're going to pick up some tricks about working with precomps. Now, don't forget to sign up for a free student account so you can grab the project files from this lesson as well as assets from any other lesson on School of Motion. Now let's hop in and make something cool. So let's talk about precomps. And one thing I wanted to say about precomps is that when I was starting out with After Effects, they sort of freaked me out because, you do all this work and then you pre-comp it and all of a sudden you can't see your work anymore. And it feels like you're hiding keyframes from yourself. And God forbid you want to go in and tweak something. Now it's kind of hidden and it makes it trickier. And you have to manage it. This is actually something After Effects artists have been complaining about for years, is the fact that you can't sort of see your keyframes while they're in a pre-comp. Very easily anyway. So what I want to show you is some of the really, really, really cool things you can do with precomps. This is a little bit more of a beginner tutorial, but I'm just going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing the precomps until you get something that looks really, really complicated like this. And hopefully what I'll show you guys is that this is actually really easy to make. It's shockingly easy. So, all right, so let's just hop in, get started, and let's talk about precomps. So I'm going to make a comp. 1920 by 1080. All right, and I'm just gonna call this square, okay? All right, so first thing I wanna do is just animate something really simple, all right? I'm gonna turn on my guides here by hitting the apostrophe so I can kind of make sure I have things in the center where they need to be. And I'm just gonna make a square. So an easy way to make a square and make sure it's in the middle of your comp is go to your shape layer tool here, grab a rectangle tool, and just double click that button. And what that'll do is it'll make a shape layer that's right in the middle of your comp. And then you can come into the shape layer settings here and twirl open the rectangle and the rectangle path. And then you can unlock this size property so the width and the height aren't linked anymore, and just make the width and the height the same. And then you can scale that down, and now you have a perfect square right in the middle of your comp. You can do the same thing with a circle too. It's pretty useful to make sure that, if you rotate this thing or you do anything to it, it's right in the middle. And what I want to do, let me rename this square. And I don't want to fill on it. I do want a stroke. So what I'm going to do is maybe it had like a 2 pixel stroke. And I think I had some nice kind of pink color in there. So let's get rid of the fill. A quick way to do that is you can click on the word fill if you have this selected. It brings up this little box, and then you can just hit this guy, and now it gets rid of the fill. It's kind of a neat little shortcut. Okay, so now we have our square, and let's just do a simple little animation with it. Okay, so here's a simple thing. We'll have it start scaled at 0, and then we'll go forward, a second. And we'll have it go up to 100, okay? And of course, we can't just leave it like that. We have to easy ease the keyframes, go into the curves editor, and kind of give it some character. And what I did in the demo, this is something that I'm not sure I've shown you guys before, but it's a pretty cool keyframing technique. If I really want this thing to shoot up and then slow down at the end, this is the shape of the curve you want to create. But if I really want that to be accentuated, then what you can do is kind of go to the halfway mark, hold the command button on a Mac. On a PC, it's going to be Control-Alt. I haven't used a PC in a long time, so I'm sorry. I don't actually know what button you push. But you push that button, whatever it is, and you click here on the curve. And now you have an extra keyframe, and you can not do that. You can just kind of pull it up like this. Okay, and you still want it to be, below this keyframe, but what you're doing is you're really giving yourself an extra handle on that curve to bend the crap out of it. And a cool little shortcut is you can now select that keyframe, and you can click this button right here, which is it basically makes this Bezier curve automatically try to smooth itself out. So if I click that, it smooths it out a little bit, and then I can just sort of grab this handle and pull it, to shape it how I want. So you can see now I've got this really hard bend, and then it really takes a long time to flatten out. And so this is what that looks like. okay? And then if I want to, I could even play with the timing of that and have it shoot up, and then it's kind of nice. And maybe we'll just pull this down a little bit. Cool. So you get this nice burst and then a long ease, which is cool. On top of that, why don't we have it rotate a little bit? So I'm going to put a rotation keyframe here. Here's a cool trick. If I want to see where my scale keyframes are, but I want to work on my rotation curve, so I'm just going to click this little button just to the left of the scale property. It looks like a little graph. If you click that, it'll keep that scale property on the graph for you. And so now I can see the rotation and the scale at the same time, so I can line up keyframes if I want. So I want that square to end 0 degrees, but maybe here I want it to be rotated 90 degrees backwards that way. Okay. And then, I normally don't like to just kind of do linear moves like this. I always like to add a little, a little character to it. So I'm just going to ease these keyframes real quick. And I'm going to go backwards. Let's go backwards 3 frames. Put a rotation keyframe there. And so that way now it can sort of anticipate a little bit. Okay, that's what it's doing when it kind of dips this way. First, it's anticipating, then it's going to go up this way. And of course, when it lands, I'm going to add another keyframe here. I'm holding Command, clicking, and I'm just going to have it overshoot a little bit. All right, and hopefully if you guys have watched enough tutorials, this shape is starting to become very familiar to you because I do it all the time. Cool, so now I've got this cool little scaling up square, and the animation's kind of nice. And maybe just so it's not, it's a little bit more random, why don't I speed up the rotation a little bit? So I'm gonna hold Option, just scale those keyframes a little bit. Remember, you gotta hold Option, grab the last keyframe, and then I'm gonna offset it a few frames, just so it's not happening so much in sync. All right, so that's kind of cool. And that anticipation move is bugging me. It's a little bit stiff, so I'm gonna adjust that a little bit. That's better. Subtleties, people, they make a difference. So that's cool. Let's say we love that. Okay, so now, what can we do with this that maybe is a little tricky? Well, what's cool is since I animated it in the middle, if I pre-compose it, I can do a lot of cool stuff with it. So let's pre-comp this. So Shift Command C, and I'm going to start numbering these, and this is going to come in handy in a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to call this 01 square PC, and I'm going to make sure it doesn't give me an option in this case, but sometimes depending on what you're doing, this option will be available to you. And for what we're about to do, you need to make sure you're moving all the attributes of your animated object into the new comp. So now what I want to do is I want to actually mask out this layer, but I want it to be masked out perfectly, sort of like, I want to mask it out so I basically have a quadrant of it, right? Like a quarter of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a guide right in the middle here, like this vertically, and I'm going to zoom in so I can make sure that it's as close to perfect as possible. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the horizontal. I'm going to grab one of these guides. If you guys don't see the ruler, Command R turns that on and off, and then you can grab a guide right out of there. Cool, so now I've got 2 guides there, and if I go up to my view menu, you'll see I have Snap to Guides turned on. Let me turn off my my title safe here, apostrophe key turns that off, and what I'm going to do is select this layer. I'm going to grab my mask tool, and I'm just going to start up here, and you'll see that when I get close to these guides, it doesn't snap. And why is it not snapping? Because I don't have Snap to Guides turned on. I thought I did and I didn't, but now I have it turned on and it snaps. See, that snaps right on there? So now that mask is perfectly lined up right in the middle of that layer. So now I can turn the guides off, and the hotkey for that is Command semicolon. I know it's a weird one, or you can just go View and hit this, Show Guides, turns it on and off. Now, why did I just do that? So if you look at this, let me scale this a little bit. If you look at this, now I've got just a quarter of the animation I just did. And what's cool is what I can do is I can take this layer here and I can duplicate it. I'm gonna hit S to open the scale, and I'm gonna flip it -100, just like that, okay? And so now you can see that it does a much more interesting thing that actually would not be very easy to create in a different way. It's like a little mini kaleidoscope effect, okay? Cool. And so now I'm going to take these, I'm going to pre-comp them, and I'm going to say O2 squares half. Now, a quick note, the reason I'm starting to number these is because, you know, I think when I did the demo, I ended up with 12 layers of these things. And you know, once you've got it built out, what's fun is going back into like the earlier layers and tweaking things. And if you don't label these things in a way where it's easy to figure out what order things were created in, it's going to be very hard to know where to dive into. All right, so now that I've duplicated that, pre-comp that, I'm going to duplicate it, hit S, and now I'm going to do -100 scale on the horizontal. So now I get this, okay? So what's awesome is I've got this really neat looking kind of animation here, right? And what's cool is because I've got this nested setup, I could just go back into this very first pre-comp here. And let's say I just wanted to duplicate that square, right? So just grab it, duplicate it. There we go. And maybe scale this one down a little bit. So I don't want to use the scale property because I've got keyframes on that. So what I'm going to do is hit U twice, double tap U, and that will bring up all the properties I've changed. And so now I can just actually shrink the rectangle down. The benefit of doing it this way is it doesn't shrink the stroke. The stroke is still the same thickness. And maybe we make the stroke a different color. Maybe we kind of make it like a teal color. Cool. And then let's offset that a couple frames. Maybe 4 frames. Okay, so now you get something like this. And then if we look at the, that's my final. If we look at the, you know, sort of the end result of what we've made, now you get something like this. All right, and it's starting to get kind of cool. Now, what happens if I take these and I pre-comp them, right? So now this is O3 squares, and you don't really have to be too creative. As long as you have a number on there, you know, squares again. As long as you have a number on there and you know, you can sort of look here and say, oh, I know this is the first one, then that's all that's important. So now I can duplicate this. And what if I rotated this 45 degrees, right? So now you get like this kind of crazy, bouncy, sacred geometry looking thing, right? And now I'm thinking, you know what? The middle of this looks a little bit empty. So maybe what I do is we go back into the initial, you know, square here. And we need to just fill in this middle section a little bit, okay? Now, what are some cool ways we could do that? What if we did this, all right? So what if we take a square, right? Let me just double tap this real quick just so I can make sure, and I'm gonna name this little square. Double tap it to make sure that I get a shape layer with the anchor point right in the middle. I don't want a stroke on this one, so I'm gonna set the stroke to 0, but I do want to fill, so I'm gonna click the fill button and click this solid color. And I don't want that color. Maybe I want like a kind of a grayish color. I'm going to double tap U to bring up the rectangle path properties and make that into a perfect square. And then I'm going to scale that square way down like this. There we go. Okay. All right. And I'm going to try and do this a little differently than the demo for you guys, just so it's not exactly the same. So I'm going to make a little square here. And what I'm going to do, so here's what I want to point out to you guys before I go any further. So what I want to do is I want to kind of remind myself which piece of this comp that I'm working in actually gets used, okay? So a cool little keyboard thing you can do, if you're in a pre-comp and you know that this comp is used somewhere else, but you can't remember which comp, you can hit the tab key. And it's tab key in Creative Cloud 13 and 14. It's a different key. I forget which key. I think it's the shift key if you're in Adobe CS6. So they actually changed that key. But in Adobe CC, it's tab. It shows you the current comp, Square PC, and then it shows you the next comp that this is being used in. And if it's being used in more than one comp, it'll show you more than one option here. So now I can just click this and it will take me there. And what I can do is I can click one of these and I can see, okay, it's using the top right kind of portion of that comp. So what I could do is I could take that little square and maybe, let me just nudge it up 5 and over 5. I was holding shift and using the arrow keys there. Let me do like 3 more. Okay, so it's kind of in the corner of the cube like that. And what I want to do is I'm going to put a position keyframe here, and then I'm going to jump back 10 frames, and I'm going to move this so it actually moves back through the origin like this, okay? And the reason I'm doing that is because if you remember, the pre-comp, this comp here, we're only actually going to end up seeing the top right piece of it because we masked it. So when this cube is here, it's actually going to be hidden in the final result. And what it's going to do is it's going to look like it kind of comes out of the middle, okay? And let me just add a little bit of overshoot to this too. So what I need to do first to make this easier is Control-click on position and separate dimensions. And then let me go forward maybe 3 frames, put keyframes here, go back here, and then this is going to be a little bit trickier because this is a diagonal move. But I'm sort of moving it past its endpoint. And then we will just grab these. We'll go into the graph editor. I'm still seeing my scale keyframes here, so I need to make sure I turn off that little graph button on the scale of these two so I don't see it anymore. And now I can select both of these properties, select all the keyframes, hit F9, ease them. I'm going to hit the plus key to zoom in here. The plus and minus key on the top row of your keyboard, the number pad, that zooms in and out on your animation curve editor. And so now I can do what I always like to do and just sort of stretch out the curves here, make this a little bit funkier, right? There we go. Okay, and that is awful. That should be moving a lot faster. And I don't like the timing. I hate this, you guys. I hate it. So these things rotate up, and maybe right about there. That's where this thing starts to shoot out. And I want it to happen fast, so maybe like 5 frames. Yeah, let's see what that feels like. There we go. Cool. All right, so now if I hit that tab key and we go up to squares half, then I hit tab again, I go up to this one, I hit tab again, you see how I can keep following it sort of down the line to the end, right? And now this is what we have. Okay? And what would be cool too is if I offset maybe this top copy, right? So it's like a little bit, there's like a little bit of a springiness to it. Right? And what's amazing, and I'm going to keep harping on this because this is why I think pre-comps are so cool and so useful and fun to play with, and you shouldn't be afraid of them, is look, there's not a lot going on here. That's really it. Those are our keyframes, right? But if you look at the end result, let me close this so I quit opening it accidentally. If you look at that, look how complicated that looks. It didn't really take that much. All right, so now let's just keep going, okay? So now I'm going to pre-comp that. 04, and this is going to be called Sacred Geo because Sacred Geometry is so hot right now. So let's duplicate that, and let's shrink a copy of it down like that. And maybe, I don't know, maybe rotate that copy 45 degrees, and let's see what that looks like. It's pretty interesting. And we're going to, of course, offset that inner copy a few frames so you get this crazy looking thing like that. That is pretty neat. Okay, cool. And then why don't we go back to the very first pre-comp here, and why don't we actually allow this inner square to get filled in by the end of this animation. So what I did to do that on the demo is, so here's my inner square. Let me rename this inner square. And what I'm going to do is, let's see, right about there, I want it to sort of start flashing and filling in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate the inner square, but I'm going to call this dash fill, inner square dash fill. Oops, dash fill. I'm going to hit U. I'm going to get rid of all the keyframes on it, and I'm just going to parent it to this one in case I change this one. This one will still move with it. And what I'm going to do is go up here, set the stroke to 0, turn the fill onto a solid color, and let's pick like kind of in that teal zone, but then we'll make it not 100%. Okay, we'll make it maybe 20%, okay? And what we'll do is we'll figure out where do we want that to start showing up, maybe here. Cool. And I'm gonna put a keyframe on the opacity. I'm gonna hold Option and Command and click the keyframe. So now it's a hold keyframe. Go forward a couple frames and set that to 0. And so then what I'll do is I'll just sort of go forward a couple frames, copy both of these, and then I'll just sort of randomly spread them out like this. And this, what I'm doing is, by kind of randomizing the time of these, I'm kind of creating a little flicker. And then at the end, I want to make sure that it does go back to 20%. So now if we play that, see you get like a little kind of flashing flicker. And maybe that could start a little bit sooner, and maybe these don't need to be so far apart, and you can sort of play with the timing of that. Cool. Okay, and now let's go to our end result and see what we got. And look how much more complicated that made it look. And there's like this crazy flickering and flashing going on, and there's really nothing to it. It was pretty easy. Another trick I like to do, because I've got these pre-comp this way. So this top copy here, and I'm not doing a good job of naming these things, but this is the inner copy, right? And that is on the top, and so we're going to kind of see that over this one, which is going to be helpful, because what I want to do is go to color correction effects, add a hue and saturation effect, and I can just kind of roll the hue around. If I want, I could just make it 180 degrees, and now it's sort of the complete opposite. But you can see, like, now I've got all this color variation happening too, which is cool. Awesome. All right, well, why don't we just keep going? So let's pre-comp these, as you do. So now we're at 05. We'll call this crazy geo. And now what I want to do is I want to scale this down a little bit. And I want to have some copies of it. So what I'm going to do, let's think about this for a minute. Let's turn on our guides. So I'm going to hit apostrophe, and I'm going to duplicate, and I'm just going to move one over, duplicate, move one over, maybe one more. Okay, so we got 3 copies on this side. And then I'm just going to go back to this middle one here, and I'm going to duplicate it again. You can see I'm being very imprecise here, but that's okay. So then what I want to do is I want to look at these two, this copy and this copy. Let me zoom in here. And what I want to do, by the way, period and comma zoom in and out of your comp. Very handy. I'm going to line up this little point here with title safe. Okay. Then I'm going to go over to this side, and I'm going to grab this one, and I'm going to line that point up and sorry, that's action safe. That's not title safe. If you guys don't know about action safe and title safe, maybe that's another topic for another day. But all I'm doing is I'm using this outer line, which is action safe, just as a guide to make sure that the beginning and the end of this chain are sort of in exactly the same spot on screen, just on the opposite side. The reason I'm doing that is so now I can select them all. I have my align menu open here. If you don't see that, I go up to window and pick align, and I'm going to distribute the layers with their vertical axis like this. And so now I've got everything. I still have a perfectly centered composition, but these are all distributed evenly, right? And so if I play this, you now get this crazy thing like this. And what I like to do whenever I have things that look the same but they're all in a row like this is I like to offset them. Now I kind of did this a silly way, and so it's not going to be as easy. It would be easier if I knew that the leftmost layer was the top one and the rightmost layer was this one, but I didn't set it up that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this layer. I know that this is the leftmost layer. Okay, so that's going to be, let's think about this. Why don't we have the middle one open up, and then it will expand outwards. Okay, so where's the middle one? If I'm not sure, what I'm going to do is just select any layer. I'm going to hold Command and use the up and down arrow keys. And you can see that it selects, the layer above and below, whichever one I have selected. And so all I got to do is find the middle one, right? Let's see. There it is. There's the middle one. So that's going to be the first. That's going to be the first one to animate on. Now let's go forward 2 frames. Actually, let's go to the end here so we can actually see these things. What I want to do is offset each of these 2 frames. So now I need to figure out which layer is this one and this one. All right, so there's one. So I'm going to move that forward 2 frames, which is Option page down twice. See, just nudges that layer 2 frames forward. And then I can find on the other side, it's that one. Let's nudge that 2 frames forward. Okay, now I need the next one in line. So let's find that one. There it is on the right side. That one's going to be 4 frames forward. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then on this side, there it is, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the last one's in line, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And let's find that last one on the right side. There it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now if we play this, right, you see how it's sort of like this nice kind of bursting open thing. And now I could even I could even sort of, line these up like this so that it's a little bit easier to see which ones go together. Because I feel like the offset's nice, but it's not really as much as I'd like. So I'm going to offset it another 2 frames each. So I'm going to grab these two and go 2 frames forward, 4 frames forward, 6 frames forward. Cool. Now you get this crazy, look at that. It's great. What are we going to do with this? We're going to pre-comp this. Let's pre-comp it. So now look, we're up to 06 already. So this is 06. We'll call it Geo Cascade. Sure, why not? Cool. So now why don't we have this whole thing move, right? So it animates on, and then why don't we have the whole thing rotate? So I'm going to have it anticipate, and then let's go 10 frames forward. Shift page down, jumps forward 10 frames, and let's have it rotate. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it rotate to 45 degrees. So I'm going to have it overshoot a little bit, and then 4 frames, fall back to 45 degrees. Cool. I'll easy ease those, hop into the graph editor, do a quick little Yankee here. Just yank it. A Yankee. That doesn't sound right. Don't use that term. Don't use that term, everybody. Cool. All right, and I like the way that's working, but I want that rotation to happen a little faster, and I want it to start earlier too. Right? So it's sort of like as this thing's about to finish opening, it's starting to rotate. There we go. Cool. All right. And now, what do you think we're going to do? We are going to grab this, and we're going to pre-comp it, and this is going to be 07 Geo Rotate. All right, and then you can just duplicate it, and on this copy, just rotate it 45 degrees, or sorry, 90 degrees, or 45 degrees, whatever you want, right? But maybe this one is offset a couple of frames, so you get a little bit of that lag to it. That's pretty cool. I like that. All right, now you're getting a little bit of a cutoff edge here, if you see that. And so let's think about how we might be able to fix that. Let's see what we could do. What if... Well, first, I'm going to grab both of these. I'm going to pre-comp them. So this will be 08. We'll call this Geo Cross. And let me fit this. And so maybe what I'll do is I'll just scoot this whole thing over like this. Okay. And then I'll duplicate it. And I'll scoot this whole thing over. And what I'm going to try to do is line these up with each other like this. Now, I want this to be kind of in the middle because it's really just kind of in this weird spot right now. So I'm going to grab both of these. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Command semicolon. If you remember this square comp that we've been in this comp the whole time. So our guides are still there. Let me turn off the title safe. And so what I can do is with those guides on, I can kind of zoom in here and grab both of these, and I can make sure that I line up the center point with the guide. Turn those guides off, and let's see what that looks like now. Okay, so it looks cool except like where it overlaps in the middle there. And so let me see if I can sort of maybe help that a little bit because I don't really like the overlap as much. But it is kind of interesting what it's doing. Look at that. And then it ends up lining up with itself, which is cool. You know what? Actually, it doesn't bother me too much. There's so much going on that it's just sort of I'm okay kind of letting it go. All right, so now we've got this crazy looking thing, and so far I don't know. We maybe have a dozen keyframes in total. There's just not a lot going on. But with pre-comping, look how quickly it gets crazy. Let's pre-comp this. Let's call this 09 Geo Merge. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up now. And let's try this too. There's a neat little trick that sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But let's try it. I'm not sure how well it's going to work in this case, but I'm going to scale this down. And actually, I'm not going to scale it down. I'm going to make it a 3D layer, and I'm going to just push it back in Z space like this. Okay, and then I'm going to put an effect on it. Stylize. It's called a reptile. CC reptile. There it is. This comes with After Effects, and what it does is it basically repeats your image for you, but there's a lot of different ways you can do it. By default, it repeats. So it literally just sort of like, it takes the left side of this and it starts over. You can switch the tiling to unfold, and then what it does is it actually mirrors the image on the right side. And then I can also do it on the top and on the left and on the bottom. And, you know, depending on what you have, look at that. That's nuts. Depending on what you have, you can, you can get away with kind of just cloning essentially your comp and making it bigger really easly. So that's cool. So the reason I pushed that back in Z space was so that I could duplicate it and have a closer copy of it. All right, so we got this. Cool. Let's hit the transparency down a little bit, and then we'll duplicate it. Turn the transparency all the way back up, and let's lose the reptile now. We don't need it, and let's leave it as a 3D layer, but put the Z value back at 0. Okay. And let's have the background, which is, remember, this is the background layer. I'm actually going to layer it for myself. I'm going to name it for myself. This background layer, let's have this start maybe 10 frames before the foreground does. Okay. And we can up the opacity because it's pretty hard to see. There we go. Cool. It's pretty interesting. All right, and now I feel like the middle of this is just screaming for something, right? So what would be cool is if one of these cool sacred geometry things could be really big right there in the middle. So why don't we do this? What I can do is I can just double click these precomps and kind of keep diving lower and lower and lower into it until I find 05 Crazy Geo is the comp that has that in it, okay? So now I can hop back here and I can just grab 05 Crazy Geo. Look at that, right? And we can offset that. So maybe we'll just sort of offset these layers a little bit. Maybe that could start a little bit later. There we go. Cool. All right, so let's RAM preview this. And I think as far as making crazy repetitive layers goes, I think I've shown you guys enough. You know, we're if you look here, we've got 9 pre-comp layers. So we're 10 layers deep of just sort of tweaking and you know, just offsetting things and scaling and copying layers. And really everything, remember, is based on this. This little thing, when you go through the trouble to pre-comp everything and just tweak a few things, now you get this insane looking kaleidoscope thing. And because, you know, these are, I mean, this whole thing is now just 3 layers in this, you know, in this kind of main comp. It's really easy to add the hue saturation effect, offset the saturation of this one, offset the hue of this one a little bit, maybe like a warmer color like that. So now, you know, you can sort of start working on your comp a little bit. And then, you know, sort of the next layer of craziness is you pre-comp all this, and now we're up to 10, and we're going to call this, I don't know, that was GeoMerge. Why don't we call this composite? Because now we'll actually start compositing it. And what you could do is you could duplicate it. You could add a fast blur to it. This is kind of my go-to thing. Add a fast blur, set this to add mode, right? Play with the opacity a little bit. Right, and now you've got a nice glow on it, right? But now, because this is all pre-comped, you know, you can sort of decide like, okay, what else? What other things do I want here, right? And in the demo, one of the things I did was I went into, you know, I'm sort of just kind of walking through these here. Look at that. Okay, that's cool. So what if in this pre-comp here, I add like a little glitch, right? And the way I did that, let me make a new layer here. I'm going to make it the comp size. I'm going to make it an adjustment layer, and we'll just call this glitch. There are a million ways to make glitches in After Effects. I'm just going to do this kind of a quirky way that I like to do it. I'm going to use the distort magnify effect. And what you can do is you can crank the size of the magnification effect up like this. Okay, so now you can actually see the whole layer. And if I move this point around, you can kind of see that it acts almost like a magnifying glass, kind of shifts things around. And this edge, it's making like a round edge, which I don't want. So I'm going to change the shape to square. And I'll change the blending mode to add, and maybe the opacity I'll turn down a little bit like this. And so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to make this adjustment layer start right here. A good hotkey for that. The left and right bracket, they actually move the in point and the out point. Or sorry, they actually move the layer so that the in point is where your playhead is, or the out point, depending on which bracket you hit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a keyframe on this center property. So let's hit U to bring that up. I'm going to make that a hold keyframe. So Command Option, click it, go forward 2 frames, and then I'm just going to move it right somewhere else. Then I'm going to go forward 2 frames. I'm going to move it somewhere else, maybe like there. Okay. Then I'm going to go forward 1 frame, and I'm going to hit Option right bracket, and all that's going to do is going to trim that layer for me. And so now we get this little thing like that. And what's cool is because it's on an adjustment layer, I can just move it wherever I want it, right? And then maybe have it happen again. I'll just duplicate the layer and have it start here. And so now you get, 2 little kind of glitchies happening. And it's really easy to move them around wherever you want. Cool. All right, let's scoot this one back a little bit to maybe there. Cool, that was easy. And then let's go all the way to our final comp and let's see what the effect of that was. And you can see it just kind of, it adds like a little just crazy, jittery, computery thing to it. Now, there's a lot of, there's some issues with the composition here in terms of, where my eye is going and stuff like that. And the good thing is that's all pretty easy to fix now because I have set this up with Precomps, right? I don't have 50 layers I have to deal with at the same time. I only have 3. One problem I'm having is that this layer here, if I solo it, right, this layer, it's drawing attention away from this big middle one. So what I might do is I'm going to grab my ellipse tool, and I'm just going to put a mask on it like this, and I'm going to feather that mask so you do see the edges, and then I'll just turn the opacity down a little bit too. And actually, I'm not going to turn the opacity down. What I'm going to do, I have this hue saturation effect on there, and I'm just going to turn the lightness down a little bit, just like that. And then this background one, I'm actually going to, oopsie daisy, let's go back here. On the background, I'm going to turn the opacity down a little bit more. There we go. And then we'll go to the end here, and now we can see, yeah, there we go. That's a little bit better, a little bit easier to look at. Cool. The other thing, I did some other stuff in the demo. I added like a little camera move to it. That's why I pushed the background back in Z space, so I could actually add a camera, right? And let's just do a simple little move here. Put a keyframe on position, put a keyframe on Z rotation. We'll go to the end here, and we'll kind of zoom in a little bit. And you can see that one problem is this main piece here is not a 3D layer, so let's fix that. And then we'll also have this rotate a little bit. Cool. And why don't we, since this is now a 3D layer, why don't we actually bring this forward closer to the camera, but then shrink it down so it's the right size. All right, and so now you've got this cool kind of 3D feel to it. And if we go back to the final comp, you've got, your glow and all this stuff. And we haven't even color corrected it yet. Of course, another thing that I kind of just do a lot, probably I overdo it, is I'll add an adjustment layer like this. And I love actually the optics compensation effect. Reverse lens distortion, just crank that up a little bit, and it just gives you a little bit of that, the edges kind of warping a little bit. It kind of helps it feel a little bit more 3D, which is kind of nice. Gosh, I haven't even put a vignette on this thing yet, but the point I was trying to make this tutorial is look at the final comp. It's 3 layers, and it looks like there's just a ton of stuff going on, but keyframe wise, there's really not that many keyframes to this thing, and it's just all pre-comping and duplicating layers and creating these neat, unique patterns. So I hope that, I hope you guys like this tutorial, and I hope that, if you're a beginner, I hope maybe, some of the things you learned here will help you navigate precomps a little bit better. Using the tab key and kind of naming your precomp so it's easy to find out where you came from. And for those of you that are a little bit more advanced, it's not that often in a paying job that you actually get asked to do something like this. And so I don't know, I find that a lot of artists actually haven't done something like this before. So if you haven't, just do it, just try it. It's pretty amazing. This looks super busy. It's crazy how busy this looks with such a little, such a tiny little seed we planted to make all that stuff. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. Hope you guys dug it. And thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for hanging around and watching this video. I hope you learned something new about how powerful precomps can be. And we would love to hear from you if you use this technique on a project. So give us a shout on Twitter @SchoolofMotion and show us your work. Also, if you learned something valuable from this video, please share it around. It really helps us spread the word about School of Motion, and we really appreciate it. So thank you for taking the time to hang out, and I will see you on day 16.